Good afternoon and welcome to Salon Talks. I'm Alli Joseph and my guest today is the iconic actress Andie MacDowell. She has been a standout in comedy and drama throughout her long career, but never before has she played so subtly nuanced a character in pain as Suzanne from her new film Love After Love, which opens on April 6th nationwide, I believe. And it's a real painful and honest look at extended grieving in film, which we don't often see, so I'm eager to talk about this. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. This is a really interesting film, and it's really hard to watch as somebody who lost her mother to cancer and saw somebody really die that way. And I want to commend the filmmakers and you for portraying this in the way that it really is. How did you prepare to play a character who is so affected by loss in this way and keep it so real? Did you suffer a loss like that yourself?
Well, for me, you know, the great thing about being a mature actress is that I've lived a long time and I've suffered. I know what suffering is and the complexity of all of these feelings that this woman has, because there's a lot of depth to this character and many, many layers. My mother died when I was 23, so I lost my father a few years ago. But it really wasn't so much about that as it was just loss in general. I mean, I could relate it to the loss, divorce. I could relate it to many other experiences that I have that have been painful. So I think it's comprehending the intensity of that kind of pain and what it is, and being strong. She's a strong woman.
Very strong.
But also being fragile. I mean, you're not, you know, having both of those parts of yourself and being vulnerable. And I love the whole part of her with her relationships with her children, the lack of boundaries, the emotional boundaries that she has with her son. And that's so prevalent from the very, very beginning and then throughout. But it's normal. It's how people, it's normal behaviors for people, especially artistic people. I think artistic people have all those flavors.
And just to clarify for those watching who obviously haven't seen the film yet, your character and your husband who passes away are theater critics. So you are artistic.
Well, I'm a costumer.
A costumer. She's making things and a theater. And so. And your son Nicholas in the film is the one who has this real intimacy with you, which you know we don't often see on film because some people might think, "Well, that's really weird."
Yeah, but it does happen. It's not unusual that mothers and sons will end up having this kind of intense relationship, and I think theirs is more pronounced than the average. And the opening scene, the director said he wanted to feel like these two people were under the covers. And it's a mother and a son, but they are definitely in each other's space in a way. I think that happens very much, and I want to control his relationships, and then in a very fiery ending, he wants to control my relationships, you know, which was a big component of the story.
Absolutely, and we see a lot of them relating to each other, and it's a very different relationship than your other son in the film.
Who I completely overlook. And I think I love James's performance in the scene where he gets drunk and he actually says it. You're the good one. You know, you're the one that gets love. You're the good one. And I also find it fascinating that I don't even let it bother me that happens, because I think if that happened to me in my real life, but I think it's just so part of the dynamic of that family that it just, so that someone said it. And the scene in the end when he does the stand-up, I think is so beautiful. It's a really, really powerful scene, and also very important, I think, because it is a really intelligent movie. It requires the audience to use their mind and to put the pieces together. It expects them to understand it, but it is done in a way that's not A, B, C, D. So if you did not understand everything he spells it out for you in his stand-up. And I just think that delivery it really just reinforces everything that you just saw.
And your director had a very particular vision, I read, first-time director, and that he actually gave you and the rest of the cast, was it Fellini movies and DVDs of things to study the intimacy and the love scenes and things like that to achieve the intimacy that he wanted.
I never say the last name right. Piaf, is that right? And Cassavetes, Bergman. Scenes from a marriage, Woody Allen movies, The Godfather, a lot of movies where you see these overlapping scenes and families, big family scenes, and shots are seen through the door. It's almost like you peering into someone's life. And it's not always just line. It's much more of a real feeling of a conversation. And one thing that we did, which was fascinating and so much fun to do, and it was great to have someone allow you to do this, is we would start the scene on our own, improving, and then do the dialogue. Someone's expected to know when to pick it up, right? Not to spend hours doing improv. But, a little bit of improv, then do the dialogue, and then it could be open-ended. And what ended up in the movie was mostly the dialogue, because it's very well written, but it gave you the opportunity to make it, the acting is very real because of the process. The only thing for me that was a big improv that turned out fantastic was the opening scene. And that was all improv, the whole thing about what makes you happy. And when I say your father's pretty good in bed, and I think it really was just that, to me, was so magical. I was so thankful I said that, because it also helped set up so much of what's going to happen in this movie.
Absolutely, and that's a good and unintentional segue into, at its core, Love After Love is really about happiness and finding it, not grief, which is sort of an ironic but true, right? So critics are calling this your best work ever, and I have as well such fond memories of your earlier films in which you made us laugh, like Groundhog Day, Multiplicity, and more. Which do you feel requires more range, comedy or tragedy?
Comedy is much harder than people realize it is, that, those small nuances are, not everybody can do comedy. I'm very fortunate that I can do comedy, but I was extremely excited about playing this role for so many reasons. Because since I turned 40, it became much harder. You hear women say over and over again, it gets tougher. It's because it's true. And I think that Hollywood has a tendency to glorify youth, and they don't understand, particularly mature women, mature men in their 40s and 60s, that's when their career takes off. And it's sad that they don't do the same thing for women, because we are as equally interesting and sexy during those years. So I feel like I've kind of lost the wave. It's going to change because of what's happening right now with Time's Up. The shift is going to happen. But at least I got this role, which I think shows, that I am still a very interesting actress at this age. Wait, I think I'm more interesting actress.
Absolutely, and I did read an interview in which...
sexy, and I'm still sexy. I'm not a child, but it doesn't mean that that's not sexy. I'm just like a man. Any man my age is still considered to be virile and sexy and interesting, but so are we, so are women.
That is the best encapsulation of why more women who are more mature should still work in Hollywood. But as you say, you recently said in another interview, I wish I was still choosing roles.
Yeah.
And that now you're waiting for them to be offered in spite of your extensive experience and this depth and maturity and beauty that maturity brings, right? Do you think anything can help change beside Time's Up, this tired trend in Hollywood?
I think it is going to take time. I think it's going to take time. I've said this in several interviews, and I believe it is true. For such a long time, on film, mature, older men have been with much younger women. And what happens when you do that is psychologically, we all feel that the man is gorgeous, right? Because it's normal, and he deserves to have this young person because, my gosh, he's so fabulous. And it's not that I want a younger man. That has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with my personal taste. We have to have the opposite. Because when we start having the opposite, the world will see women differently. And it is a psychological effect that happens when you do that. Because then this person becomes a very different person. They become interesting and sexy and virile, no matter how old they are. So until that happens, psychologically, we're not going to be as powerful as men. And in many other areas, we have to change the way our perception of what women are and what does it mean for a woman to be powerful,
Absolutely.
And sexy and interesting and mature.
Well, it's always been said women are complex, much more complex than men, and that's important and that's special. That's what makes us different and of such value. I think it's also a good segue into, and by the way, this is Andie MacDowell. There's no one who do not know this. She's very easy to talk to, and lovely person. And you do have a milestone birthday coming up, which is hard to believe. So I want to say, it's funny. We were talking earlier about our similar beginnings in fashion and modeling, where there were such rigid standards on weight and beauty, appearance, being told all the time that you're too fat. But now, all these years later, where you've evolved into your own place in this industry, where you're controlling sort of how you step forward, and this is who I want to be. What are your top 3 tips for remaining beautiful inside and out?
Well, for me, I love to be in nature, and I think being conscious of your surroundings, so don't get lost in your head when you're in nature. You have to be sure that you're seeing everything that's around you and hearing everything that's around you, so you have to hear the birds and see the grass and notice the trees and even the way they move. You need to feel the wind on your face. You need to be present for all of that. I think that really does change how you feel, your interior life, and it makes you more beautiful, it makes you live more peaceful. I love to exercise, and yoga is one of my favorite things to do, and I think it's centering, and if you have the right teachers, it can be also a really beautiful way to learn to love yourself, because they'll give you that positive information. So you're having a physical experience, which it can be very, very physical, but you're also working on your interior life. And the third thing, I would say, how I feed myself and nurture myself. Self-care. A continuation of self-care would be taking time to look at your food and thinking about what your food does for you and making positive choices. It doesn't mean that I don't have a glass of red.
What's your favorite chunk? What's
the other night I got to the hotel and I was tired, and it's usually when I'm super tired. Okay, I got in my hotel and I ordered a glass of red wine. And they had these little teeny tiny cookies in the hotel room, but they were like crunchy, good. I mean, super good. They were just packaged cookies, but they were fabulous. And I ate that whole package of cookies with that glass of red wine. And I also think that's really important too.
You got to balance, right? You absolutely have to. I love that.
And as I was eating it, I was like, oh man, this is some of the most fun I've had in quite a while.
Well, you need to have more fun.
No, it was fun.
It was fun. It was good.
It was good.
Chill with your glass of wine.
I was tired. I was in my bedroom. I had made the trip. I was here.
But that's that nice simplicity that you talk about, connecting with the present. Like, I'm going to really enjoy this one thing that I'm eating.
It was good. I had decided to enjoy it, and I did. No regrets.
Absolutely. Well, okay. I hope they put more in your room tonight. Andie MacDowell here to talk with us about her starring role in the beautiful new film Love After Love, which opens nationwide on April 6th. She smells like roses. She drinks yerba mate. She drinks coffee. She does yoga. I'm going to go and exercise. Thank you so much for joining us. And everyone should go out and check out the movie. I know that you're off to England soon to shoot Cuckoo, right?
Yeah, that's
right. So she gets to do some more comedy and be amidst the Londoners. So have a wonderful time here in New York. Good luck with the film.
Thanks.
And we'll talk to you again.
Thanks so much.
All right. Have a great afternoon.